Hello and welcome back to another FPL captaincy video. Last week we finally ended our poor run of 2-pointers with a 12-pointer from Erling Haaland, which was nice. Obviously playing against Southampton, we did expect him to at least pick up a goal, and that is what he did. It was very unfortunate that he didn't end up getting like 3 or 4 because he easily could have with the chances that he had. Took lots of shots, a huge XG created as well. So if you triple captained him, it was very unfortunate they did only score 1 goal because in another week it easily could have been 3 or 4. So that is 4 weeks in a row now that we have picked Haaland, and let's take a look and see what 4 picks we've got for game week 10. So it doesn't seem as easy this week in trying to pick a good captain because there is a lot of decent or a lot of hard fixtures for a lot of our obvious captaincy picks. So for Mo Salah, we've got Brighton at home. For Erling Haaland, we have Bournemouth away. And our other 2 players this week is going to be Heung-min Son against Aston Villa and Cole Palmer against Man United away. So our predicted points for this week are as it stands, with Salah leading the way on Fantasy Football Hub with 8.1 expected points, followed by Erling Haaland on 7.7, then it's Cole Palmer on 7 predicted points, and Heung-min Son's actually right at the bottom at 5.5 predicted points, so not expected to do as well as the other 3. For FPL team, it is Haaland who is just in front at 7.1 predicted points, followed by Salah at 6.8. Then FPL team doesn't have Palmer doing too well with only 5.6 this week, and then Son once again at the bottom with only 4.8. So this is how it stands for this season's current stats, and as you can see for the EX minutes, everyone has 90 apart from Heung-min Son. Now this is according to Fantasy Football Hub once again, so him having only 68 expected minutes this week does kind of explain why his expected points are so low, or are much lower at least than everyone else, because they are considered 90-minute men for this weekend. Now when looking at the XG, we did expect it to happen sooner or later, obviously not against Southampton, but Haaland is starting to climb back up to match his XG with his goals. He is now essentially at 9 expected goals to his 11 goals after massively overperforming it at the start of the season. That's followed by Mo Salah at 5.1 XG. He's got 6 goals, so kind of where you would expect him to be. Palmer and Son, however, just overperforming theirs. Palmer's at 4 for his XG, he's got 7 goals already. Son has 3 goals from his 1.8 XG, but of course it is Haaland with the highest. I don't think that's going to change at all for the rest of the season. Now for expected assists, it is Cole Palmer with 2 expected assists, followed by Mo Salah at 1.6, Son at 1.2, and then Haaland is still down at 0.4, and he is yet to register an assist this season. Now looking at the return chances, it's very close compared to what it usually is. Haaland's only at 70%, which is lower than recent weeks. He's followed by Salah, who's right up behind them with 68% chance of returning. Again, followed not too far behind by Cole Palmer on 63%, and then Son down at 59%. So quite close this week, which is definitely something to keep in mind. And then as we move on to the odds for this week, again, it is quite close. Haaland is usually right up ahead of everyone else on this list, but Haaland only has a 53% chance of scoring this week, which is a lot lower than it usually is. I believe last week he was into like the 70%, and he is normally high 60s to score. This week against Bournemouth, with it being an away fixture as well, it's only 53%, and then if we look at Mo Salah, he's at 51%, so we're looking at essentially the same odds. Palmer's down a little bit lower at 41% chance to score, and then Son even lower than that at 34%. So Son is looking like he is the worst of the 4 options here. Now looking at the 2 goals, again, Haaland is still winning, but not really by too much at 18% to score 2 goals. I think last week it was double that at about 34%, so a lot lower again this week. Salah at 15% to score 2 goals. Son is actually a little bit higher than Palmer to score 2 this week at 11%, and then Palmer's at 10%. Now looking at the opponent's chances of a clean sheet, it is Brighton who have the least chance of keeping a clean sheet of the 4 teams on screen, followed by Bournemouth, followed by Aston Villa, and then Man United have the highest chance of a clean sheet, just in case you were looking at potentially captaining Cole Palmer. So looking at the set pieces, once again all 4 picks are on penalties with Salah, Haaland, Son and Palmer. Again, with Son, still haven't had the Spurs penalty, so we can't confirm that Son is definitely on penalties. He is listed as the primary penalty taker, but Solanke could potentially take them away from him this season. We are still yet to see. Haaland, of course, on the odd free kick, as the main one obviously being Kevin De Bruyne. Palmer taking free kicks and then some corners as well. So it does give the advantage to Palmer for the set pieces, but again, everyone being on penalties is kind of as much as you need from a captain. Now looking at rest for each of our players, obviously there's FA Cup games on tonight with everyone playing in the FA Cup, of course. Now Salah's playing against Brighton, obviously playing against them as well on Saturday. Again, I'm recording this just before the lineups come out, so we'll be able to see what the full rest is going to be like. Hopefully, at least our chosen captains are going to get a full rest tonight before their games. Now, Haaland's obviously playing against Spurs. That is obviously Heung-min Son as well, playing against Manchester City. And then Cole Palmer for Chelsea, playing against Newcastle. Now again, definitely going to have to keep an eye out on the lineups and how many minutes each of our players play, so that we can get a proper idea of what the rest is going to look like. Now if each of them do play, it's going to be Son and Palmer with the advantage, as they don't play until Sunday. Salah has the game against Brighton on Saturday, along with Haaland against Bournemouth also on Saturday. And then our Sunday games are Spurs and Villa and Chelsea, Man United. So an extra day's rest there, again dependent on our minutes in the FA Cup this week. So looking at our opponents' defences and the chances conceded, looking at Mo Salah, he's playing against Brighton, who are the 9th worst defence in the league so far. They've got 13.4 goals conceded, or expected goals conceded, to their 12 actual goals conceded. Now what you'll notice with all 4 of these teams is, despite the variations in expected goals conceded, they all do have basically the same actual goals conceded. Brighton with just a little bit more at 12. Bournemouth, Villa and United all have conceded 11 goals so far this season. Now, Bournemouth are one of the better defences of the 4. They're 13th for worst defences, so the 8th best defence in the league, if you want to look at it that way. Aston Villa have been the 3rd best defence in the league so far, with only 9.2 expected goals conceded. And then Cole Palmer up against the worst defence of our 4, with 15.2 goals conceded for Man United, making them the 5th worst defence. Now, when we look at the chances conceded, Salah doesn't benefit too much. You know, he's Brighton have only conceded 22 down the left hand side, or down Salah's right hand side, so not the best for Mo Salah, even though the defence overall isn't too great for Brighton. Now looking at Bournemouth, Haaland's probably the one that benefits the most of our 4 players here. Bournemouth have 55 chances conceded down the middle, which is the most of all 4 of our teams on screen, and obviously Haaland plays down the middle. The only thing is that Bournemouth obviously are one of the better defences in the league. At least they're in the top half for defences in the league. Now Heung-min Son, whether he plays off the left, whether he plays at striker, obviously Solanke is usually the one who plays at striker, so Son will probably be off the left. They've only conceded 15 chances, which is one of the lowest in the entire league, so I really don't think Son is going to benefit too much this week. We've seen him as the lowest for X minutes, you know, one of the lowest for odds of scoring, and you can see again Aston Villa don't really concede too many chances down his side. Now with Cole Palmer playing against Man United, he obviously plays as more of a centre attacking mid, so again 50 chances down the middle for Man United. So Palmer and Haaland are probably the 2 that benefit the most here. Son definitely the least with only 15 chances, and Salah's just kind of there. You know, Salah wasn't really, you know, benefiting too much last week, and he still managed to score a goal, which is definitely something to keep in mind. But again, looking at the defences, it's probably Palmer who looks the best of these 4 here, with Man United conceding so many down the middle and also being the worst defence for expected goals conceded of our 4 picks. So this week my choice is going to be Salah. I was kind of tempted by Cole Palmer, but there's a little bit of uncertainty of what's going to happen with Manchester United, with the manager. Obviously Erik ten Hag has just been sacked. Will they have a bit of a new manager bounce? It's obviously an away game as well. It's going to be a game at Old Trafford, which can sometimes make a difference. So I feel like Salah's the better one. You know, he's got the home fixture as well, you know, against Palmer's away fixture against United. The only thing with Salah is I don't think it's like a standout captaincy. You know, we were just looking at the chances conceded. There's not really like loads of chances down that side for Salah, so I can't really see like a huge haul coming from him. I just think he does at least like match Haaland this week, and with it being a home fixture, I think it could be a decent move. Brighton obviously have the lowest clean sheet odds of our 4 picks, which is definitely a fact to consider. And again, like I said, he is matching Haaland for the goal odds, essentially the same for the chances of scoring goal, and also the chances of scoring 2 goals. He's also got the highest predicted points for Fantasy Football Hub, just a little bit less on FPL teams. So I think it's a good week to go for Salah. So that is who we're picking. Again, like I mentioned, I don't really think it is a standout captaincy pick, so it could be a decent week to go for a differential captain outside of one of the big boys, who all do seem to have some pretty difficult fixtures. So the one I've chosen is Raul Jimenez, as you can see on screen. Now, they play on Monday night against Brentford, again another home fixture. Now, Brentford haven't been the greatest defensively at all this season, and Raul Jimenez has been on some really good form since coming into the team. You can see down the bottom with the expected goals over the last 5 matches, Jimenez is sitting in 6th. He's essentially got the same amount of XG as, a Cole Palmer, Jackson, who've both been popping off really well recently. Jimenez also has done really well himself, but when we're looking at the Brentford stats, they are the 6th worst for expected goals conceded, so they are a little bit better than Man United, but they have conceded 18 goals in the league so far this season, which I believe is the 2nd most goals conceded outside of Wolves, who are about 24, I want to say. But Brentford have conceded a lot of chances down the middle. We were looking at Bournemouth a minute ago for Erling Haaland, 55 down the middle. Well, Brentford have 76 chances conceded down the middle, which makes them the 2nd most chances conceded centrally. I believe it was only Southampton, I want to say. It could be Leicester that have conceded more. But, Brentford have been very weak down that middle of the park. So I do think Jimenez could be a really nice move. Again, if you don't maybe own Salah, or if you don't really like the fixtures for any of the more expensive players, I definitely would recommend Jimenez this week. Like I said, playing against one of the worst defences in the league for, chances conceded centrally, and is obviously on some tip-top form as well. So that's how it's going to look for this week. Salah is our main captain, Jimenez is our differential captain. Let me know what you think of both of them down in the comments. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more FPL content, and I'll see you all in the next one.